Is that how you feed yourself? Is the dead swans and flamingos?
I get free. There's a lottery, and whoever wins gets all the swan meat and flamingo meat they want for a month. It's a pretty good deal.
There's a lottery for the
nice
dead
perk.
flamingo.
It's a good perk.
Nothing better. Welcome to another episode of the Law Offices of Quibble, Squabble, and Bicker. This is going to be a special show. Although today is April 13th, this is going to be a two-parter. So the second half of this, if you don't see it today while we're doing it live, is going to be airing next week because I'll be out of town running a karaoke show near the Oregon coast. So anyway, so today is April 13th, 2022, and our client for today is the Orchestra of Evil, or Emptiness, and Emptiness. I'll try that again. It's the Orchestra of Evil and Emptiness.
Behold, trapped in a hellscape of their own invention, socially unaware old white men bound by the pretense of being fake lawyers yet knowing no law, no exquisite Latin terminology, they are inexplicably compelled to quibble over minutia, squabble over triflings, and bicker like those who value their backyards far too highly without even knowing the difference between an easement and an alleyway. At this very moment, you have entered the heart of the Law Offices of Quibble, Squabble, and Bicker. Let's get started.
Do you like... Oops.
What? Dungalang? Dungalang?
Doonjalang. Do you like listening to pop music but wish the lyrics were more pork product related? Sure you do. Well, Polyham Records has a new double LP that will have you squealing with delight. Slop happy. You'll be a pig in shit when you drop the needle into this ham hock and roll masterpiece. Featuring Squealer's Wheels, Hog Smack, Guided by Pork Roast, Built to Squeal, Suckling Kid Joe, Archers of Olive Loaf, The Hoggy Bottom Boys, Piggy Stardust and the Sliders from Mars, 9-Inch Sausage, Rage Against the Porcine, and all the way from Iceland, Pjork. Is that? And also, while you're at it, pig out on these other pig hits. Here Comes Your Spam by the Piggies. In a Pig Country by Pig Country. Barbecue by the Hashboard Light by Meatloaf. Sweet Caroline by Squeal Diamond. And it's all about the ham, no veggies by Tricky Gnosis. So order today. Slop happy. You'll be squealing like a pig in shit, even though I said that already. Sweet Caroline. Do, do, do. I would buy that album.
So what's the name of the album again?
Slop Happy.
Slop Happy.
Like a pig and slop.
So this is all pig puns is what we got.
Yeah, various
I have to say that Pjork was inspired. I like
Pjork.
I think that's how I'm going to refer to her from now on, as Pjork.
At my restaurant where all our sandwiches are puns, I'm trying to have them have a special like pulled pork sandwich with egg. So we can call it the pulled Pjork. I would like that.
It could be good. All right. So thank you, Greg, for that very insightful thing. For that fake sponsor that you dragged from somewhere.
Yeah, don't thank me.
It was something like straight out of the Muppet Show, apparently.
If the Muppet Show made of pork.
Pig songs in space. Anyway, all right, getting to our client for today, and our client is the Orchestra of Evil and Emptiness. And what does that mean? What does that mean? Well, it means essentially it brings us to the beginning of my relationship with Greg, and like kind of how it all came about. So as many of you know, but many of you don't, those who are new to the show, I have a karaoke business, and I've been doing karaoke for over a decade. I don't know how long, but anyway, one of those years, I was working at a venue that no longer exists, as so many of the places I've worked at don't exist, and I think that says something. Anyway, called the Bravo Lounge in an outskirt of Portland, Oregon. And Greg was a regular singer there, and would come to my shows every so often. I got to know him and his girlfriend at the time, and he I don't know. That's kind of just how it all got started. And he later on wound up getting offered to run karaoke at another place, and asked me for help in terms of what to do. And so I think that's what started our initial, not necessarily friendship per se, but
well, you wouldn't admit it was friendship.
It initiated conversations, let's say.
Well, I realized you were a pal when you invited me over. I barely knew you. Just you were my KJ. And I think I had to pick up something. You were like, oh, come over. I got all these DVDs. And then you made me a steak dinner.
What?
You made me a delicious steak dinner with all veggies on the side. I was like, wow, this guy knows how to cook. You were just sitting there, whipped it up.
When was this?
You don't remember that? Before, it was like one of the first times we ever hung out outside of a karaoke bar. You invited me over to your house. I think it was to get the DVDs, or it might have been some other weird reason.
No, that must have been a long time after.
No, I barely knew you. I was like, wow, this guy's making me a steak dinner. He's just my KJ.
Huh. Nice guy. Yeah. I'm like thoroughly confused on it. Because is it at the house where I currently live?
Yeah, it was just you and me. It was just like no one was home. You're like, oh yeah, because everyone's out. And you're like, oh, Mike, are you hungry? And you didn't just like give me some chips. You made me a steak, a nice steak, which I never cook a steak for myself.
Well, I think it's because I had some steaks and I had the grill and I was
yeah, but it wasn't leftovers. It was like you made a nice meal.
Well, if you're going to have a meal, it may as well be a nice one, right? Especially if somebody's visiting. But for some reason, I thought like our friendship we had known each other better since then. So it's only like within the last 5 years then.
I guess I was at Bravo 5 years ago.
No, I wasn't at the Bravo 5 years ago. That was years before.
Well, that's where I met you. And I think you're still at the Bravo when this happened.
Not in this current house where I'm living now.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I was at the Bravo at my old house.
So I guess we didn't really hang out when you were KJ at the Bravo.
No, we definitely didn't hang out. I mean, I think it was like the tail end of the Bravo where we
yeah, maybe you said, let's go to a bar together. Because Matt will often, like, if there's a regular that he can stand, which is a small minority of his regulars, he'll be like, hey, you should come out.
I can stand nearly everybody.
I know, but like,
what makes me, I think it's more like who can handle my personal abuse is more telling than anything else.
Yeah, but Matt likes to go to various karaoke bars. That's what a fan he is. Where he'll just check out, I heard about this new place on Facebook. They do Wednesday nights. So Matt would drive me all over town. Eventually, as the years went on, we became karaoke buddies, and we would Matt would hear of a place, let's check it out.
Well, I knew that we started hanging out more as I was working at this bar in Oregon City, and you would harass me to want to, because you'd be going out somewhere else and would ask me to come out after my gig. And I'm like, I'm just got through working. I'm like, I didn't go out to a karaoke place. So I think that's when we started hanging out more.
I thought you were the first one to ask me, though, because that seems presumptuous. I can't imagine asking you.
At this stage of my life, my memory is apparently shot.
No, my memory's terrible, but I just wasn't the kind of person who'd be like, hey, we should go check out another karaoke bar sometime. It was like, you do that, though. You like to do that. Like,
I'm just trying to remember why the hell. I mean, you asked me for help for something. I think it was when you were getting ready to work at the Bear Paw. So that was long before I lived where I'm currently living, as far as I can recall.
I don't remember.
How long have you been at the Bear Paw?
It's been a while. I think it's been longer than 5 years.
Right. I think has it been longer than I was at Spots? Well, I was at Spot 79 for like 5 years. And I left there about a year ago. Yeah. So that would have been like 6 years ago. But you used to come to Area 52 when I was working there.
Yep.
And that was, were we friendly then? I mean, you would come to my gig, but did we hang out at that time?
That started just sometime in there.
All right, I want to apologize to everybody who's watching right now for this really bad reminiscing that we're doing. It's like, where it's all about, well, I don't remember. Do you remember? I don't remember it either. Well, I don't remember nothing.
You just tuned into Dementia on Marie.
That's right. We're no longer the Law Offices of Quibble, Squabble, and Bicker. We're Dementia 101. That's what we're changing the name of the podcast to, because obviously we have no memory. I remember having a conversation with a friend from high school about a year or so ago, and she had mentioned that I'd come over to her house once and eaten all of her bacon when we were in high school. And I went, I don't have any recollection of that happening. I'm like, I believe you. I said, I believe you implicitly, because I can see myself coming to somebody's house and eating all of their bacon, but I don't remember doing it at all.
You should listen to Slap Happy while you did it.
If I had known that it existed at the time, I probably would have listened to it while eating a lot of bacon. However, let's get into what karaoke is. So screw this lack of this horrible memory that we both have. We're doing a two-parter, right? So we need to get into it. We need to get into what karaoke is.
The meat of it.
So the client is the Orchestra of Evil or Emptiness. That comes from the fact that the word karaoke is derived from two Japanese words. Kara, which means empty, and okesutra, which means orchestra, and they basically shortened that up and made it karaoke. So empty orchestra, or if you're going to do it in English, it'd be empty orc. So actually, I think I might prefer that as a title. It's like you have an orc from the Lord of the Rings that has not eaten anything for that particular day, and so it's obviously an empty orc.
And then it'll chase you around the bar, trying to
and then he only sings in Orcish language or something.
Oh, that'd be good. It was like the Klingon karaoke, that bar in town, the BC Lounge. Used to have a night of Klingon karaoke where people would sing.
The BC Lounge, that's where Baby Ketten is now.
Yes. And Klingons would come and sing like Madonna songs in Klingon, like hey!
What? So people who actually knew how to speak Klingon would come to that bar and sing,
and they dress up, as Klingons. And
I
thought it was a rumor. I thought it was a thing like, oh, you're bullshitting. You're making it because it's funny, the idea of it. But I talked to a bunch of people, and they were like, no, I've seen it. It's true. They really did do that.
The fact is that the Portland area has a lot of very creative people, and I realize that I am not one of those people. So I don't wear costumes. I don't get into things like that. I'm basically a curmudgeon for the most part. I'm not really into fun at all.
A H.P. Lovecraft theme bar. We have a George Orwell theme bar. Even like Portland is a.
Where is there a George Orwell theme bar? Where is that located?
It's called the Victory Bar, I think, and it's either I always mix it up. I think it's on Division or Belmont.
Is it George Orwell themed or 1984 themed?
It's pretty much 1984.
Okay, so it's not like an Animal Farm type of thing.
No, there's no Animal Farm references. I don't think. Maybe there's a few posters up of Napoleon. Vote for Napoleon.
Or what was that other George Orwell book? Keep the Aspidistra Flying. I think that was the other.
Homage to Catalonia. I've read them all. I love George Orwell. He's one of my favorites.
You've read them all?
I've even read the 4 books of his letters and movie reviews and book reviews and personal letters. That's what a nut I am for him.
What drove that? What made that happen?
I just love that guy. Like he's one of those people that speaks to me. Like I would, if I knew that guy, I think we would have been pals because he seems like the way I think about things. All of his opinions. I think we would have been
pals. You've said that about other authors too, where you have this strange delusional concept of yourself that you would be a pal to famous authors.
Actually, George Orwell would probably think I was a fucking boorish lout.
I mean, think of all of the current modern day famous authors that you are not pals with.
Because they have shitty opinions. George Orwell and me were simpatico. I've read a lot of his stuff, and like it seems like every position he takes, I'm like, yeah, I agree with George Orwell on this. Yeah, he's totally got it dead on.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he seems to know. We're just simpatico.
Just simpatico.
Hey,
that's what we is.
We're the kindred spirits.
We're the simpatico twins.
Yeah,
that's what we.
Well, let's get back to the history of karaoke.
Okay, let's do that.
The empty orc began in Japan, I believe, in the 60s, right?
I'm not really sure. Well, I mean, theoretically, you could say that the concept of karaoke began with like Sing Along with Mitch on television,
back
in the 50s.
and movie
Exactly.
theaters.
So you sang along with the track and you followed the ball, and while people sang along with you, and that comes from the old beer hall sing-alongs that people used to do way back in the day. While they would hire traveling minstrels. What's that?
Would they drop the vocals from those Follow the Bouncing Ball things at the movie theater? Would there be no, like, you wouldn't hear Frank Sinatra singing the song? Would it be just...
I don't know. No, it's sing-along, so I think they probably kept a vocal track going.
Okay.
It wasn't designed for somebody to just be the lead singer.
Because that's kind of an important step when they took the vocals out, made true karaoke.
Right. Well, I guess it was like designed to cause people to feel like they're in a band or something, that was the thing. But let me see here. I'm looking into Wikipedia, known for its incredibly accurate listings. But here we go. 1961 to 66, American network NBC carried a karaoke-like series, Sing Along with Mitch, which featured Mitch Miller and a chorus where they superimposed lyrics to their songs during the bottom of the screen for home audience participation. But the difference was the absence of lead vocalist between that and karaoke. So that answers that question.
But Mitch would probably sing, right, along, too.
Well, and his chorus would probably sing as well. I don't know if Mitch did the singing. I don't remember actually ever seeing the show because it was 61 to 66, and I was born in 66, so I don't
think they repeated those ever. I don't think there's one made it to syndication.
Yeah. And then what happened was in the 60s and 70s, stored audible materials began to dominate the music recording industry, which made portability and ease of use of band instrumental music increase globally. So that could be karaoke began with a machine in Japan. So that's really kind of where it started. But it says the word karaoke had long been used in Japan's entertainment industry to refer to instrumental recordings and backing tracks when a live band couldn't be arranged for singers. So it's kind of like lip syncing,
Well, like Milli Vanilli.
Right, but if it was Japanese, it would be Miji Maviji. Because everything in Japan has the letter J in it, in case you didn't know. So most people don't realize that, that all words in Japanese have a J somewhere in the middle of it.
Milli-san and Vanilli-san.
That's only, were those guys in that band specifically named Milli and Vanilli, or was that just the name of the band?
I know that wasn't their real names on their birth certificate, but I think supposedly it was like Simon and Garfunkel, Milli and Vanilli.
I don't think so.
Oh, wait, you're right. It was called Milli Vanilli. It wasn't Milli and Vanilli. It was just called Milli Vanilli.
Yeah, Milli and Vanilli is our band.
No, that's our vaudeville act.
Your vaudeville.
Welcome tonight, one night only, Milli and Vanilli.
It's our vaudeville, Vada and Ville act.
Yes.
Or sorry, Vada and Villi. Vadi and Villi.
Vaudeville-oki.
Do you think Milli Vanilli was named so that the second word would sound like vanilla? Do you think?
I think so.
Yeah, they were supposed to. So it would have really been like Milla and Vanilla.
Nilla wafer. Nilla vanilla.
Or the Thrilla in Milli Vanilli.
Thrilly Manilli.
So anyway, so karaoke goes back to the 60s when there was backing tracks. In other words, the term karaoke. As terms of popularity, though, I think that came much later. So a guy named...
I think it was popular.
In 1971, a nightclub musician, Daisuke Inoue, independently invented his own karaoke machine. So that's when the first machine was started in 1971.
And I think he got dicked over really hard, too.
I don't think he did, because he was awarded a tongue-in-cheek IG Nobel Peace Prize for inventing karaoke, thereby providing an entirely new way for people to learn to tolerate each other.
So the Nobel Peace Prize takes time to make goofy awards, like a tongue-in-cheek.
But the interesting thing is the patent holder of the karaoke machine is a guy from the Philippines named Roberto del Rosario. He developed the karaoke sing-along system in 1975, and he's recognized as the sole holder of a patent for a karaoke
That's what I'm saying. That guy got kicked out of. Yeah, that's what I meant. Like that guy invented it in Japan, and I guess he didn't patent it or something. He didn't.
Yeah, but I would think that he could still have a patent in Japan.
Maybe he never even sent it in. It was just some machine he made. He said, "Hey, everyone enjoy."
I don't know, but
sent it in.
It sounds like there's birds in your background. Is your fan on again?
No, but there is birds. I have lovely birds in my beautiful palatial estate.
Lovely birds in your palatial estate. Do they live like over the corner of your shoulder where we can see you in your giant kitchen?
No, they're outside. There's like swans and flamingos and
There's swans and flamingos.
It's a very swank place I live in.
In Oregon?
Yeah, they bring them in, and they die every month, and they bring in new ones.
They die every month.
Yeah, it's too cold for them, but they keep bringing them in.
So you have, is that how you feed yourself? Is the dead swans and flamingos?
I get free. There's a lottery, and whoever wins gets all the swan meat and flamingo meat they want for a month. It's a pretty good deal.
There's a lottery for the dead flamingo.
It's a good perk.
Nothing better. But don't those flamingo legs get a little a little chewy? Not too much meat.
You don't eat the leg, no. Yeah. You use that as a skewer, like a chicken, to put the rest of the meat on. But I gotta say, like if you flambe a swan, it's swan flambe. It's good.
Swan flambe.
Yeah.
Well,
can you get us out of these things? They make me self-conscious.
What makes you self-conscious?
Being in these weird like vistas where my head is huge.
Well, you're a piece of art now.
I know, but my hair is looking really stylish now, isn't it?
It's not quite that stylish, really.
It looks kind of like a cool bad boy in a movie. No, I sound like a biker in Dukes of Hazzard.
Yeah, is this better for you?
Look who's on.
Hi.
Oh my God, we do have a guest.
We do have a guest, Greg. I was just messing with you.
Oh,
she's like the perfect guest for this client.
Yeah.
The Orchestra of Evil and Emptiness. This is the author, Dr. Kris Gowen, of the book One Nation Under Song, My Karaoke Journey Through Grief, Joy, and Murka.
Murka.
That's
it was very Murka that time, yes.
That's how she spelled it when she wrote it. It was Merka.
So this wonderful woman, listeners, wrote a book. She went to every state of the union and did karaoke over 3 months, was it?
Yeah, I mean, so Alaska and Hawaii took a little bit more time, but yeah, I did the lower 48 in 99 days.
Yeah, it's a lot harder to drive to Hawaii.
It's true.
Yeah.
Not if you have a pontoon boat car.
Yeah, I'm lacking in one of those.
One of those ducks. What are they? They're called ducks, aren't they?
Oh yeah,
duck boats.
I think that's like the land and water thing that like you do for tourists, like those things. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, exactly. But speaking of driving to Hawaii, I remember back in college, I had a dream, and it's one of the very, very few dreams that I remembered. And this is where I was selling bus tickets to Hawaii, and that's about the extent of the knowledge of that dream that I have. So it all ties back into nothing.
That's like selling ice to Eskimos.
No, Greg, actually, it's not like selling ice to Eskimos at all. Eskimos have ice. Nobody has bus tickets to Hawaii, except for people in Hawaii.
It's the swamp. No, yeah, you're right. I was going to do swampland in Florida, and that's also the bad analogy. That's the opposite.
Yeah, I mean, because there is swampland in Florida.
Right.
But people sell it as something else, I think. But anyway, so welcome, Dr. Kris Gowen. We were just having a discussion about the origination of karaoke, how it all got started. But since you're here, why don't we actually talk about your work? Now, anybody who's followed our show knows that Dr. Gowen was on with us a few months ago with her cohort because they have a podcast that is about sex education called Before You Swipe. Actually, the podcast isn't about sex education. They're sex educators. They have a podcast about them getting sex and getting educated on the people out there who are trying to have it with them.
Yeah, right. So, that's basically, that podcast is about online dating, and my colleague and I, Dr. Lauren, over analyzing dating profiles. So now I have an identity crisis because now I'm on here as a pretty hardcore karaoke enthusiast. So
You're a Renaissance woman.
I am. I do. I like
those
all
are
the
your
things.
two specialties. Singing
Yeah, I'd say that. Yeah, I mean, I love karaoke. Obviously, I love karaoke enough to drive around the U.S. and sing karaoke in all. Ooh, a chairlift.
I'm trying to find the right background for us.
Although I have to say that it snowed, I guess, in Portland, and here in Toronto, it did not. It flurried on Saturday, and I was cranky about it. And then I saw pictures of what you all went through, and I was like, "Oh well, yeah, fuck, never mind."
Oh, it was just pure slush after 2 hours. It was just slush, and I
didn't even see it. I slept through the whole thing.
I had to walk to work in that slush, and drenched. My feet were completely drenched.
Yeah.
You have drenched feet?
Not now. They dried off.
Yeah. Yeah. I also met you all in karaoke.
That's true.
And that's one thing I want to say about karaoke. I'm sorry. Is karaoke is this weird hobby, maybe you could call it, where it just attracts all kinds of people. Like if you go to a D&D game, it seems like it's going to be kind of like similar people, relatively similar economic classes, probably education level. But karaoke is a fucking crapshoot. Look at me. Hey guys, I'm an orc. I'm a dwarf. So karaoke, you can meet people and befriend them, and they're just so different. All walks of life. They just love karaoke. That's the one thing they have in common. They could be like Trump supporters. They could be QAnon, but they go to karaoke and you chat with them about karaoke. They could be like, just totally different walks of life. Meet each other.
Yeah. And I mean, when I was in Alabama, my partner at the time and I went into this bar, and I honestly think we're the only two people that were not wearing a Confederate flag on their person. No joke. And so we were like, okay, we're gonna order a Coors Light, and we are gonna sit down, and we're gonna behave ourselves, and we're just gonna keep our heads down. And it was, I mean, obviously, it was different because I'm white. So it was easier to blend in, if you will. But I was really conflicted because these people were exceedingly nice to me. And, I told them what I was doing, and the KJ there was like, oh my God, you're living my dream of like driving around the country and singing karaoke everywhere. And there was a big flood going on, and they helped me navigate through, like they were telling me like what roads we could take and which ones we shouldn't because they were shut down. And I'm like, you all here, by nature of what you're wearing and everything, are the epitome of my like asshole. And yet here you are being really nice to me, and we're singing together, and it's fun. And God, it was hard.
You're singing Sweet Home Alabama together.
I think I sang Juice Newton. I think it's this weird thing where I was trying to find a song that I could sing, and then like that wouldn't rock the boat kind of. I
don't know if you guys get this reference, but a famous karaoke personage in Portland who's now dead.
Wait, personage?
I look like Micro. He used to hang out on Chopsticks with a lack of pigmentation. But if Micro was white, because he was this guy with he was a little person with a really big head. Kind of looked like this, all scruffy. And always be like in Chopsticks. And that's how I feel right now. I feel like a javelina man. A huge head. But I'm like short. I'm like,
you do look like you need a booster seat at the table.
Yeah,
for sure.
You look like you're just a disembodied head with your chin is on top of the table, and like somebody placed you there, like something out of like The Man with Two Brains or something.
Or in Futurama, where all the presidents are like in heads in glass jars.
Yes.
The trick to it, Greg, is you'd have to back away from your tablet to have a smaller head, but then we probably wouldn't. It's much smaller that way. We probably wouldn't be able to hear you as well. So perhaps it'd be just best if
I'll put up with it. I'm fine.
Yeah,
if I just do this.
I'm a professional.
Whichever. Now you can see how dark it is because I forgot to turn on my lights in my condo, which is fine. Yeah, I don't care. I'm just laughing
in the darkness. That's a Canadian condo, everybody, in case you're wondering. She's in Toronto.
That is true. Which is basically when things started opening up post-COVID. I was like, oh, now I need to meet people. What did I do? I went to a karaoke bar. And so that's how I've started to meet people here. I mean, karaoke is a lovely social construct.
What's funny is I thought. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Greg.
I was just going to say, have you befriended any of them outside of karaoke? Have you actually made some pals? You're like, let's go out for lunch.
Well, so one of them asked me out on a date, but then he bailed today, which is why I'm talking to you now.
We're her second option.
Well, yeah, she can't have sex with us on Zoom, Matt.
It's true.
Actually, if you're creative enough, Greg, you can find ways to do it depending upon your definition of sex.
Well, right, and also to put like my other my sex ed hat role or like whatever on. There are devices that you can like vibrators and things like that you can use remotely, so you can operate them with the keyboard or you can do the things like that.
Wait, you can operate vibrators with a keyboard?
So if I put a vibrator on myself and gave you the controls, you could through the keyboard control it. And it is known as teledildonics. They also have the things, and that is an actual thing.
I think that's going to be a client. That's going to be a client one of these days. We'll be representing teledildonics.
Yeah. So I have, in addition, so back to my Renaissance universe, I have given talks in Portland on, both the science of online dating, but also on sex relationships and technology. So basically how technology has impacted our sex lives.
Fascinating. Now, this could certainly go into a whole other direction, but what I kind of want to get back to
karaoke.
Is I want to get to your origin stories, both of you. So, Kris, since you are our guest,
yes.
When was the first time you did karaoke, and what was it like for you? And then, Greg, if you could answer that question too.
So the first time was I love it. Now we're talking about our first times.
Our virgin moments in karaoke.
I believe my first time was in Arizona. I was living in California at the time, and I was visiting a friend from high school, and we had played softball and went out drinking afterwards, and they had karaoke, and true to a karaoke experience, I was drunk. And I put in a song, and I put in the word, "Alone" by Heart.
Oh wow!
I had big aspirations.
I can do it.
I totally biffed the big note. I remember just singing. I'm like, I think I'm sounding okay, and then the big note happened. I totally missed it. And
what year was this roughly?
It's in the 90s.
And what city?
This would have been Tucson.
What?
Oh my! You guys crossed paths.
I could have been there. That's so weird.
I don't remember the name of the bar. I remember the name of the person I went home with that night.
Oh well, that could help. What was the person's name?
Patton.
It was the Patton Bar, Greg.
Yeah.
No, Patton's the name of the guy. He didn't own the bar, Matt.
I know. Yeah. I just made that up.
Yeah, I know. Oh. But I don't remember anything else about the bar. It was big. I do remember it wasn't like a nice little homey dive. It was like this gigantic thing.
Greg wouldn't have been at a place like that.
No.
Because in Tucson, it seemed like for years there was the gay bar, and the lesbian bar had karaoke, and the hotel lounge or the Motel 6, whatever it was.
Maybe. Or it could have been outside of Tucson. I mean, I was not exactly a local, so I don't really remember.
Karaoke was a thing in rednecky areas, like Wild Life. That was 86 True Stories. Yeah, and that's about trailer park land. And it seems like maybe people like us who lived in kind of big cities, we didn't know about it. It was a thing, I think, 5 years before it became a thing for us. If you lived in Dubuque.
Well, the second time I sang karaoke would have been in the mid-90s, and it was in San Francisco, and it was in a basement bar that was a tiki bar, part of a hotel, and I don't understand how you guys are the faux legal officer or people, so you might be able to, but they would float you on this deck out into the pool. And you would sing on this stage.
Was it an electrical microphone?
I don't remember. This is in
Well, it
the
was a
mid
microphone.
'90s. I don't
It had
remember crap.
electronics in it.
It had to have been cordless. It's not going to be
I know,
like
but-
plugged in.
It might have given you a shock if you fell in. I don't know. It's electric.
But that was, I sang Summer of '69 by Bryan Adams. That went over better.
Nice.
So, with the first time you did karaoke, though, was there any hesitation or trepidation on your?
No, I was
part?
hammered.
Oh, okay. But have you sung in public before then? Like, were you ever part of a choir or anything like that, or a
Yeah, I had sung in a glee club, and I had done. I sang in a church choir for a little while when I was a kid. I was Snoopy and You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown when I was in high school. Oh, I'd done community theater a little bit. So yeah, I had done stuff, but yeah.
So it was like a natural progression for you.
I'd sing to the radio all the time.
Well, singing to the radio is different than singing in front of people.
Yeah, but I guess I just always needed to sing.
Yeah, some people don't sing at all. Even when they're alone.
Yeah.
Right. Some people are also serial killers. We know who you are. So,
Yeah.
all right,
Same
Greg. So,
people.
what's your story, Greg? What was the first time you did karaoke?
Well, I forgot about the other place, even before like gay bars, I think, was the sushi restaurants, the Japanese restaurants. They'd have karaoke. You'd just be sitting there and then they'd start up some karaoke.
Where was
Wasn't
this?
much of a bar in Tucson.
Okay, so you started
Tucson,
your karaoke journey in Tucson as well?
yeah. And I was at a sushi restaurant with a friend, and I believe I sang because before cigarettes ravaged my voice. It wasn't a good voice, but I could sing really high. I had you can still hear my high voice. I've got this high voice, but it's all raspy. But I could do a good falsetto without doing this. And I did ABC by the Jackson 5.
Ooh, nice.
And that was the first time. And I think within a week, I went to another sushi place with my girlfriend at the time. And I can't remember what I sang there, but I do remember to this day that there was an elderly cowboy dude, like Tucson guy, with his.
Wait, I just like that entire title. Elderly cowboy dude, Tucson guy.
Yeah. It sounds like bad Japanese instructions.
I think that's going to be the name of your autobiography.
But he did have like I hate to say it, it seemed like a mail order bride because he seemed like this total like American cowboy dude, and his wife could barely speak English.
Why do you say you hate to say that, Greg?
Well, because it's kind of a racist thing to be like, oh, a white guy with a Japanese woman or Asian woman, mail order bride. But she barely spoke English, and she got up to do.
But do you actually hate to say it, though? I don't think you actually hate to say it.
Actually, I don't hate it that much.
I didn't think so, yeah.
And she sang, I was dancing with my partner. Oh, the Tennessee Waltz. But with her
Wait,
accent
could you
was
sing a
so
little bit
thick.
more? Can you sing it a little more like her?
I'm singing her accent.
Okay,
she was
thank you.
I was dancing with me partner to the Tennessee Waltz. So to this day, when I hear that song, I think Tennessee Waltz. But she loved it, and it was so new to me. I was like, this is something people do. They just get up and sing. And I took to it pretty quickly, but I did when friends started coming, like when I discovered like the gay bar.
And what year was this? Approximately
mid-90s.
Mid-90s, okay.
Early to mid-90s.
It's really when it hit the US, I think. So
I
yeah.
know, but it was barely anywhere. There was like, there was like 3 karaoke places in Tucson, which is a pretty big city. And but then I remember being nervous a little because I had been in punk bands since I was 14, most of the time as a lead singer. But I could just scream my own songs. Nobody knew what they were supposed to sound like, but I had to sing Billy Joel now and make it sound like Billy Joel. So it was still scary for me, even though I'd been singing in bands in front of live audiences for, I don't know, 15 years at that point, a long time.
So speaking of killing brain cells that we've been talking about, and when you guys were concerned about not even knowing when you met, because I was listening to you live before I came on, I'm not going to go into it, but I totally missed an era. So the San Francisco thing was way after, because when I was getting my master's degree, so the Arizona thing happened, must have been 92 or maybe early 93. Because then in 93, I moved to Boston to get my master's degree. And that's really when I started karaokeing regularly, because I didn't know anybody when I moved to Boston. And so I started going to this one bar that doesn't exist anymore. And they started having karaoke on Wednesday nights, and I would go every Wednesday and I would sing there. which was also the year Goldschlager came out. And I remember that because the Goldschlager rep came and gave everybody free shots. And yeah. And so I woke up the next morning and was like, was I did I have everyone square dancing to Country Olivia Newton-John? I think that was true. But if you told me that I just totally made that up, then I'd believe you too. Because
now the next morning when you was there gold flecks in your shit? I never had Goldschlager.
I don't think I looked, or I don't remember. And I'm pretty sure I'd remember something like that because I'd be like, whoa.
Greg has a habit of inspecting his feces. So
well, you should. It's a healthy thing to do.
Questions. I don't know that it's a healthy thing to do.
It's healthy to make sure things are going okay.
Tear it apart, like after you do it, like stick your fingers in it and.
Well, no, I just look.
Okay.
You don't need, you have to make sure there's at the very bare minimum, you need to make sure there's no like blood or something in it, right? Like you gotta.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm so used to blood, I don't even notice anymore. So.
Okay. I would have picked the gold flecks out and gone to a pawn shop and sold them back.
Where'd you get these?
You don't need to know.
What kind of alcohol is Goldschlager? I've heard of it.
It's a cinnamon schnapps, essentially.
Oh, so it's like Fireball, but with gold flecks in it.
Right. A precursor to Fireball. And I can't remember there was a similar version of it back in the early 90s. But yeah, so all of this stuff is early 90s for me. Yeah. So it must have been I started doing this. So Matt, when did you start, Matt?
Oh, well, mine's a weirder story because you guys had sung in public before, and I had never sung in public before. And I'm trying to remember when I first became aware of karaoke, and it must have been somewhere in the early 90s because for the longest time I thought it happened to me much later in life, like the late 90s and the early 2000s. And then I realized that I did go to a party at somebody's house where they had a karaoke machine. And I do remember like feeling very nervous about doing a song because I had never sung in public before. Mm-hmm. And I had done plays and things, and I was a musician back in high school. So I did that, and I've sung plenty of songs on my own or in the shower or something like that, but I never sang in front of people. And so I think I did a song that I knew other people would sing along to, which was Blackwater from the Doobie Brothers.
Nice.
At this party. But the funny thing was I had totally forgotten that this party had existed. And so I was always telling people that my first experience actually singing in public was much different, which was in Germany in the late 90s. And I was at a Christmas party, which in and of itself is a very bizarre kind of story. So I'm at this Christmas, and I like the story better than the karaoke machine story. Because I didn't sing in public again until this time, which would have been probably about 98, I think. I did have almost a run-in with karaoke for my bachelor party, which is not really a bachelor party, back in 1994, when it was my dad and my best man and I, and we were going, what should we do before we go to get married? Because...
Which makes it sound like you, your dad, and brother all got married.
No, not my brother, my best man.
Oh, best man. Okay.
Yeah, so like we were going, where are we going to go to do something for the bachelor party? We didn't go to like a strip club or anything. But my dad is the one who actually suggested karaoke. And I'm thinking at the time, my dad sings. Like, this is weird. But that made me realize, like, okay, so karaoke was in my mindset. I knew it existed. I knew it was in the world. So, but it wasn't something I ever sought out to do. And the weird thing was that if my dad was willing to sing in public, which was a concept that I still can't wrap my head around because I've never seen my dad do anything like that whatsoever, be entertaining in any way.
He lived in the Philippines, though, for years. And that's like just a common thing for adult men to do. Adults.
Karaoke didn't exist when I was in the Philippines.
Right.
That was in the 80s, Greg.
I know Philippines and Japan and karaoke over the
But it didn't exist where I was in the Philippines. When I was there, if I had known about it, I might have tried it. And like friends might have talked me into it or something. Because we went out to bars every weekend for the most part.
And it was often a family affair as well, too, in a lot of other Asian countries I've been to, where like in Vietnam, there's like karaoke machines and a lot of families who'd walk, down the streets of Vietnam and past houses, and you would just hear people singing in their houses. So
I lived on a military base, so we didn't have that experience. But either way, there was a strip outside of the Navy base that had all sorts of clubs of different kinds, like a country bar next to a rock bar, next to a massage parlor, next to a ping pong place, next to another country bar, next to a nightclub, next to another rock bar, next to another whatever. And they line the road, the main strip going out of town. But that's beside the point. That's a digression. So anyway, I became aware of karaoke back in the day, but I didn't really do anything. And then I was in Germany at this Christmas party, and they were giving presents to people, and I was like the lone American there. And they're like, if you want this present, you have to sing the national anthem. I said, well, I don't know the national anthem of Germany. They went, no, the American national anthem. I said, you're kidding. If for a present? And very seriously, they said, yes. Like as Germans would do. Like, this is like, if you want this thing, and I'm like, and at the point I was thinking to myself, I'm like, I've never sung in public before, having forgotten about that party when there's like 8 of us, but this was in front of a group of 40 Germans, and they wanted me to sing the Star Spangled Banner.
One of the hardest songs to sing in the world.
Mind you, without a music track.
I was just about to ask.
Right. You have to be a cappella.
Do you have that in your, either of you, in your karaoke tracks? Do you have the Star Spangled?
I probably do. I just, no one's ever asked me to.
When I had an old school karaoke player, I had a CD of it.
Okay. So if I put my little slip in and put the Star Spangled Banner, you would be able to accommodate that.
I'd let somebody sing it. I'm pretty sure I've got it. I just don't know. I haven't looked to see it. So anyway.
Would you stand? Would you kneel?
I would probably
someone
stand.
Would actually sing it,
I would probably stand and put my hand over my heart, because that's how I was raised. Again, I was in a military family. Right. We did that at the beginning of movies, like because the Star Spangled Banner would play at the movie theater on
what?
So it's a military base, Greg.
I know, but a movie, you got to stand up and sing that song.
Well, nobody says you had to. That's just what you did.
Well, I mean, they even played it. I'd be annoyed. I'd be like, just play the movie. I don't want to fucking hear this shitty song.
Well, again, you're on a U.S. military base, Greg. It's their movie theater. It's kind of like you do as the Romans do.
So we
were the Romans. So that's what we did, regardless of you being annoyed by whatever. Anyway.
So you got to walk like an Egyptian, you're saying?
No, I just put my hand on my heart because the Star Spangled Banner was playing and he stood up. Okay. It's not really a big deal. Anyway, regardless. So I wound up singing the Star Spangled Banner, and I actually remembered all of the words too, which surprised myself.
Even the later verses? Nobody knows those.
No, just the one, not like the 3.
You're not going to milk that. You're just going to sing it as fast as possible and get your fucking present.
I'm not doing like the 3 verses to the Star Spangled Banner. I'm doing like the main song that everybody sings at like ball games. I'm not doing the whole freaking thing. I don't know all of that. Anyway, so I got through it, and they like all applauded. I'm like, that was the most nerve-wracking thing I ever did. And then I never sang in public again for I think 8 or 9 years after that, when I had moved to Oregon. And the only reason I actually got into karaoke later was I started dating. This is like during the course of my divorce from my wife, and my first wife. And so there was this person who would go, it was like an ad on Craigslist or something. And she said she would go to this karaoke bar to sing songs. I'm like, oh, maybe I'll stalk her a little bit. And so I went to this bar to see if I could find this woman. And I was like, what the hell? And I never saw her. Instead, I wound up sitting at the bar and talking to this other guy. And so we basically made each other say to each other that we would go up and sing a song at karaoke. And I wound up finally going up and singing. The other guy didn't. I'm like, you son of a bitch. But it wound up becoming a regular thing for me. I kind of got over this hesitation of singing in front of people.
Did you sing Deutschland über alles that night?
I think I did. I did some goose stepping as well while I was there, and I drew like swastikas on everybody's forehead with a Sharpie
for Hitler,
just because I was bored, So, and they were all okay with it because it was like a redneck bar in Oregon. Anyway, no, I didn't do any of that, Greg. I am not a white supremacist by any stretch of the imagination, because I have Jews in my history, specifically my mother. So it's not going to happen. I am, according to Jews, right? According to Jews, I'm a Jew. According to me, I am not. But, that is neither here nor there. Anyway, so that became my transition into being a karaoke addict because I started doing it all the time. It became the thing I would do. I would drop off my kids at my ex-wife's place and then drive home on the stretch of road, which went by that same bar. And so I would go into that bar, and that's how I met Scott Davis, who is the guy who essentially became the person who I emulated whenever I started doing my own karaoke shows. And I would make sure I didn't do a lot of things that he did that would bother me. So that's...
He was a good negative example.
That's right. Well, no, he did a lot of good things, but he also did things that I wouldn't do if I was running a show. So I'm like, I'm not going to do, I can't even remember what they are anymore. I probably do them now. Whatever it was that he did at the time.
That's how I was when I saw you first karaoke, KJ. I was like, oh, I'm not doing that.
Yeah, that son of a bitch. He uses all these sound effects. Fuck that. I'm not going to do that silliness. Yeah, you do your own thing. So, yeah, which is the beauty of being a karaoke host.
My own crappy thing.
Yeah, you do whatever you want to do. So anyway, so that's kind of like my roundabout way of how I got into karaoke, which was because I had never performed in public as a singer. I had performed like playing a saxophone in high school when I had done plays, but I'd kind of stopped being an entertainer when I got to college. I never did anything like that again. So it's, and I don't consider myself to be an entertainer now either. You know, I get compliments from singing, which is still weird for me to get because I go, I'm not a singer, you know, I'm just a guy who does karaoke. And
you have a really good singing voice, though. I mean,
maybe it's gotten better as I've gotten a lot more practice. But I remember Scott used to record people and you'd give them CDs if they wanted them. And he gave me a CD once and I listened to it. And I very nearly stopped doing karaoke at that point. I was like,
hearing your own voice is, I don't know, what's the word? It's disturbing. I think there's no other word for it because it sounds so different in your head, right? Like it's just this weird concept of.
Well, plus I wasn't on key, you know, so that's the other thing is like I mean, like I'm very critical of other people singing and I listen to myself and went, I can't believe that I torture people like this. I'm like, I can't do karaoke ever again. I'm like, I got to quit. And I was talking to Scott about it. He's like, Matt, he's like, first of all, calm down for one thing. I'm like, man, I suck. I'm like, I really suck. I'm like, I didn't realize how bad I sucked until I listened to the CD. He's like, Matt, he goes, you're not a professional singer. He says, don't expect that you are. He goes, you're actually a good karaoke singer. I went, what are you trying to say? He's like, it's karaoke. You're enjoying yourself and you're not bad, you know, as a karaoke singer.
Yeah.
And I went,
go ahead.
Well, you know, it's like you want to do justice by the songs. You know? You want to go, I'm like these people like made these songs and they put their heart and soul, some of them, into creating these songs. You know, you don't want to like suck the air out of the room. And so when he said that, I'm like, okay, I think I can have being an okay karaoke singer, you know, because I'm not trying to have a record deal. I'm not planning on singing with a band anytime because, for one thing, I can't remember words, which is why I do karaoke. It's like the screens are there, and like even the songs that I love the most, that I know the best, I can't remember how the words go. I can know a lot of them. Yeah, but I can't know them. So I'm like, it's better for me if I don't have to have a memory. You know, so that's what karaoke works for me. Yeah. Anyway, so that being said, he talked me off the ledge, and that was when I was still a karaoke consumer as opposed to a karaoke host, which then came a few years later, which was kind of a weird transition since I was a PR guy and I'd been in public relations for like 20 years, you know, and then somewhere along the line, I just flipped and made karaoke my occupation. And I really don't regret doing that at all. There's less stress. It's much more enjoyable. The pay is much lower, but I really don't mind. So it's like become like this thing that's permeated my life so much so that I wound up creating a podcast with another guy who hosts karaoke. Yeah. And now we have you on the show talking about your book.
Right. Well, I mean, karaoke is one of the few things that you can do and be pretty bad, and people will still like completely applaud you and cheer loudly. Right, because they're drunk or because they see your enthusiasm, or they, you know, like, or you're doing something else that's kind of entertaining or silly. But I mean, you're right. Like, no one paid to hear you sing, right? And half the time they're just waiting for their turn anyway, and they're barely listening. So I think once I I sort of remembered those two things. Like I started taking more chances with songs that I would sing, or not care if I screwed up or doing whatever, like those kinds of ideas. And then
it creates kind of a fearlessness to an extent in terms of singing. See, I always get really uncomfortable singing in front of people. I just kind of want to get up, sing my song, get the hell down, and I wouldn't really try new things. And so as time went on, I started going through songbooks and pulling out like different songs to try out. And I wouldn't do like a higher voice or falsetto or anything like that because I couldn't do it. And then I learned about key changes, which is what my current wife helped me out with once, where she's like, oh, you can change a key on something and then you can sing something higher. I'm like, really? You can do that? I'm like, I didn't know that. So then I started really experimenting, doing like Rush songs and Journey songs because you could do a key change. Whereas before I wouldn't try it because
Tim songs.
I would hurt myself. I only know one Tiny Tim song, Greg, and I've never tried it. But
Leo Sayer, did you ever do Leo Sayer?
I have done Leo Sayer songs. I've done Bee Gees songs.
But I mean, did you do like 8 things lower, 8 keys?
No, just generally 2 keys down is enough for me to swing something, except like Boston or Triumph.
Right.
Which
Boston's hard.
I can do a lot of it, and then I die, and then I just kind of like I
Boston's hard for me, and I'm female, right?
Yeah.
Like there's just sort of, I mean, it like when I was doing the US thing, I did repeat a few songs, but I did try to sing
the
different
US
songs
thing.
every
You mean
place.
traveling across the US?
Singing all the.
You said the US
states.
thing. I'm like, gone. What is the US thing?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, when I was singing karaoke in all 50 states, I tried to. I mean, I did a few repeats, but I could sort of like if I finagle it right, because sometimes you sing more than once at a place. I sang a different song in all 50 states, but sometimes I sang the same song.
Can I tell a little story to illustrate how I'm just like Matt, where I need the lyrics, even songs that I loved since I was a little boy.
Yeah,
you'd think I'd know the lyrics by now. So I was in Italy with my relatives. I had relatives all over Italy, so they knew I liked karaoke. So I think this was in Rome, and they took me to karaoke, and I was like so thrilled. I was like, wow, doing karaoke in Italy. And so I was just like, they had a lot of Italian songs, but they had tons of American songs. And what I picked Born to Run by Bruce Springsteen, which is weird because I don't say it that often, but I know the words. I thought I knew the words pretty well. But when the song came up, it was so bizarre that this Italian karaoke company had put something on the screen, but it was just asterisks, hundreds and hundreds of screens of asterisks. And I was just like, I don't know the song that well. I can't do it. So after like 1 verse or 2 verses, I was like, sorry.
Where would the asterisks be?
Like a whole screen of 50 asterisks to represent these are the words.
And just to quibble a little bit, Greg,
have.
it's not asterisks, it's just asterisks.
Asteri?
Astero. Asterisks. There's a letter S right after the K, and you don't have to add an ES on there.
I can't remember what I picked.
Just to quibble. And did you have to do it all in an Italian accent?
No.
Oh, that's too bad.
I should have, though. That's a good idea. I should have done Mambo Italiano by Dean Martin or something. But I think I picked, I can't remember what I picked, but I probably picked some 50 song that I knew, like.
So I'm a little confused by the asterisk thing, though. Is it the words were missing?
Every word. It was just screens and screens of asterisks.
So in other words, they would scroll through. They would scroll through the asterisks as if they were words.
Yes.
Got it.
So,
okay, that's where I was confused. Okay.
Why not just have a blank screen and say no lyrics? Sorry.
Yeah. Why even have a screen at all? I mean, just play this song.
Well, maybe the Italian songs had the lyrics. I mean, I didn't really. I used the screen as a crutch, and then there was a couple of times where I'm like, I'm just gonna not look and see if I can do it, and then I would get insecure and look at it. And then when I started doing karaoke competitions, you can't look at the screen. You get points off, or basically,
really,
you can't look at the screen in a karaoke. What's karaoke? Why can't you look at the screen?
Because it's for pros, man. Really good.
Because karaoke competitions aren't really karaoke. They're
American Idol.
Z-list American Idol. Yeah, exactly.
Singing,
like
so they're just basically singing competitions,
right? With a karaoke track, right? So you can't bring a band, you can't bring a guitar, right? Exactly. So you have to sing to a karaoke track, but you can't actually look at the screen.
So there's like a mafia behind the karaoke competitions, like the big ones. So like some kind of karaoke mafia that determines how things are done.
There's definitely favorites in karaoke competitions, of which I am not one. And so you can definitely get scored poorly if you're not known and scored well if you're known.
You guys know about the My Way killings in
in the Philippines.
In the Philippines, where they take karaoke so seriously.
Yeah.
And they love My Way by Frank Sinatra. That's the most popular. That's their love shack. And if you get up on a stage and sing My Way poorly, you might get killed.
What do you mean it's their love shack, Greg?
It's their most popular song. Like,
what's the most
popular song?
It was for years. That was the perennial karaoke track, Love Shack, every night.
Now Sweet Caroline now?
Total Eclipse of the Heart, or maybe it's
no, I think Sweet Caroline probably is number one, even beyond Love Shack.
I don't hear that often. What's Up by Four Non Blondes, as far as my part.
The first time I competed, I sang that What's Up, and I got points taken off.
You should have.
Yeah, you should.
I sang it well.
I should have just taken you off the stage the minute you started singing that song.
A lot of people
probably now that I know, and I also will do. I've judged some national and international and state level competitions now for these things, and I've definitely written in the not official notes, but thought to myself, if I hear "At Last" one more time, I'm gonna claw my ears out. Like, it's just like there's certain songs where you're like, are you fucking kidding me? This person's singing this again.
Yeah, my wife had been a professional jazz singer, and she would never sing the song "At Last." She goes, because there's so many people who do it. She just does other songs.
Right. I mean, and they're deep. I mean, no one's singing badly at this level, right? And you're still like, really, again, or Never Enough by The Greatest Showman. Like, oh fuck! Like,
I actually don't know that at all.
I don't have to hear that a lot.
I've never heard that song before.
Like, never enough, never enough.
I think the reason I haven't seen it is because my wife can't stand Hugh Jackman's voice, and so we've never actually seen the musical. So
I've never seen the musical, but I would watch Hugh Jackman paint a wall.
Well, no, she's actually attracted to Hugh Jackman.
Oh, okay.
She just doesn't like his voice, his singing voice.
That's like Adam Levine for me. He's like one of the only people who got less sexy when I heard him sing.
For Maroon 5?
Yeah, I'm like, ooh, he's hot. Then he sang. I'm like, ooh,
I remember when Maroon 5 first came out, a friend of mine goes, "Is that Terrence Trent D'Arby?" I'm like, "No, that's the white guy." I'm like, he's not Terrence Trent D'Arby. But anyway, I wanted to actually ask you a little bit about being a judge at karaoke competitions.
Yeah.
What is that like? That must be kind of surreal a little bit. I mean, I don't do competitions at my shows. I find that you just alienate people if you have shows.
Yeah, it goes against the spirit of karaoke.
If you have judging,
and that's the first. So the first time I competed, that's exactly what I was like. I didn't know what I was getting myself into. Like, I had on the karaoke road trip, I was in Arkansas, and Arkansas has a very serious state karaoke competition scene.
I can imagine, because what else is there to do in Arkansas?
Right, with a lot of drama, like all the kinds of like drama and infighting, like Real Housewives level like stuff.
Well, that sounds entertaining now.
It is. It's
I
actually
want to see that show.
Well, yeah. I have aspirations to write a screenplay about karaoke competitions, a la Best in Show, because it's crazy. Like, seriously, like the crap that goes on in karaoke competitions is just nuts. So, anywho, whenever I compete, which has not been many times, except for one online competition during COVID where I did tie for second internationally. I suck.
What song did you do?
What songs did I do? Chandelier by Sia.
Really?
I think is the one
that's a challenging one.
Yeah, that was one of my stronger competitions.
You didn't do Xanadu?
No, because it's not as vocally challenging. That's the other thing with karaoke competitions, right? Like, if you sing a song really well, but it doesn't have a lot of vocal range or it doesn't go anywhere. I mean, Xanadu kind of goes places, but not to the extent, not enough to score well.
So if I sing a perfect "Hey Good Looking" by Hank Williams, they're not going to be impressed.
Probably not. As a guy, you could probably get away with a little bit less, but you're competing against people singing Whitney Houston and Celine Dion.
It depends upon your yodeling ability, Greg.
True.
Yeah.
Like, let's hear you do a little yodeling. Let's see.
You do yodel well.
Let's
I
hear you
got a
yodel.
feeling for the blues. Oh, no.
No, you stretch out the yodel more. Get the yodel going a little bit more there, Greg.
I don't know what I want to do. I say I can't do it as good. Low
He hasn't been drinking long enough.
Yeah. I'm not good at yodeling because my upper range is shot from smoking too much.
So, but yeah, so then judging, so then I got asked to judge mostly because I wrote the book, not because I'm actually a good, because really, honestly, I don't have any credentials. I never scored very high in a competition. I didn't really do anything, and also I'm smart and I was willing. So I think those are some of the things that qualify. So.
Oh, she's smart, Greg.
I am smart. I do have a doctor in front of my name. It kind of goes with the territory. So,
but you also have a doctorate as opposed to just a doctorate.
Oh yeah, I am not a medical doctor at all.
There's like a little guy, a little doctor stands in front of her name all the time.
Yeah, exactly. Totally.
I never said that I was smart.
Anyway, go ahead.
You two are both smart. I wouldn't be friends with you if you guys weren't smart. But at any rate, so like it's just, so you get these score sheets and you listen to people just singing and they've practiced for ever. They've practiced and practiced and practiced. And then most of them are really, really good. So it's kind of difficult to sort of say, but you've got your score sheet and your criteria, like their breathing techniques as well as their showmanship, but you get a lot of, depending on the competition, some of them make you, there's a lot of points for things like costumes, like, or how you're dressed, not costumes, because that makes it sound like you're supposed to dress like in a, like in cosplay or Comic-Con, which is not what you're supposed to do. You're also supposed to make the song your own. So you do not try to imitate the artist, but you actually try to make it more like, and one of the commissioners described it essentially as like, you dress as if a person's going to pluck you off the stage and put you into your own.
So in other words, you have to be your own artist.
Yeah. With a pre-recorded track.
Right, I got it. So it's not actually even a karaoke competition. It's just
It's
just like an American Idol thing. Sorry to end so abruptly, but the second part of our client, the Orchestra of Evil and Emptiness, will be here next week. Stay tuned, or just tune in then, or something. You've been here. This has been the Law Offices of Quibble, Squabble, and Bicker. Listen to our friend Colin.
Your consultation with the Law Offices of Quibble, Squabble, and Bicker has ended. You may pay your retainer at www.qsblaw.org. Please exit to the right of the water cooler and grab a candy from the front desk. We hope to see you again soon, but you need to leave now. I said leave. Why don't they listen? Get out! Get out!